At the age of 3, I drew the most profound picture that had ever been drawn up until that point in human history. It was so good that I told my grandparents, I'm going to sell this picture for $100. Now, this was the late 80s, so that was a lot of money. And luckily, my grandparents had some friends coming over that evening. Now, unfortunately, I did not sell it for $100, but I did sell it for $40. And that was my first business experience of taking something that I created and turning it into cash. What I ended up doing with the cash was something that was kind of unique at the time. I went to my other grandmother and I said, hey, if I give you this $40, will you stop smoking cigarettes? She didn't take the $40, but she did stop. And that was my first experience with business, helping other people thrive in their personal life. Now, when I tell people that I own 7 different businesses, I get one of 2 responses. One response is, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, how do you do that? That's so incredible. The other response that I get is, you're just another part of the problem. Now, when I get that response, I laugh, and then I ask the question, why do you say that? And the answer that I most often get is that business is toxic, it's killing us, it's killing the environment, and it should not happen. So, when I ask them what kind of business they're talking about, they rarely mention the coffee shop down the street. They don't mention the accounting firm with 12 people that is working downtown. And they never mention the companies that are continuously raising their minimum salary year after year at a higher clip than inflation. They often talk about the companies of every size. We know these. Where the leadership has decided that they are now dictators over a small country that is populated by their employees. And their best move is to extract as much wealth and power from those employees as possible for their gain. It could be with a few leaders, it could be with many. And it's very clear that this is transpiring. Right now, inflation is still raging out of control in the US and around the world. All the while, corporate profit continues to hit all-time highs. And our government officials, here and across the globe, are either too corrupt, too inept, or too scared to take any action that would make a meaningful change. So, what's the path forward? Well, in order to talk about the path forward, we have to talk about the science of fine-tuning. Now, if you've never heard of the science of fine-tuning, it's very, very simple. Essentially, there are so many different things that had to occur in order for our planet to be able to sustain and cultivate life. The distance from the sun is one that we all hear. We're 93 million miles away from our sun. There are other things, like the way that gravity works, the density of our planet, the way that our tectonic plates have shifted and formed. There are dozens of these fine-tuning ideas. The other reality is there are these things that we know are true, but we rarely think about them in order to understand how interconnected we actually are with one another. If there were no vegetation, if all the trees burned up, there would be no oxygen on Earth, no life on the planet. If the animals all died and there was no animals producing carbon dioxide, the trees would die, the plants would die, and there would be no life on Earth. Whenever we have astronauts that we send to the International Space Station, they have this profound experience called the overview effect. See, when they're spending this time in space, they see our beautiful blue planet. And little did you know, they don't actually see the country territorial lines drawn on it. They just see the beauty and the oneness. And then they look out into the darkness of space and see nothing. When they come home, they say things like, why do we have division? Why is there strife between countries? Why are we fighting each other? And as we spend more and more time going to space and recreation and in business, more and more of us are going to have this profound experience as well. The experience that there's no difference between me and you. Is there really an us versus them? Or is everything that I do, my thought patterns, the things that I say, the actions that I take, directly affecting everyone else? We have to begin to look at business as an opportunity to elevate everyone around us. Because when we start to understand that there is no me, there's only us, it's really hard to screw over yourself. Some of the ways that we've done this have been pretty profound. But I first got a taste of this from my dad. At the age of 10, I had this idea. I wanted to sell candy bars, erasers, pens, and pencils out of my backpack. Now, I didn't have any money at the time, and so my dad did a brilliant thing. He lent me $5. Now, at the time, I could go buy a candy bar for 25 cents, and I could sell it out of my backpack for 50. So, I went and bought some candy bars, brought them to school, sold them, paid my dad back, took the $5, bought more supplies. I ran that business for years. Now, microloans are something that we've known about for years, and they work brilliantly in third world countries every single day. But we haven't brought this home in some significant ways to the Western world. And so we have started to. We will find a brilliant employee, someone that is absolutely massively talented. They're driven. They have what it takes. Except they lack two things. They lack capital, and they lack the wisdom of experience. So what we've done is invested money into those individuals, started businesses with them. Again, they have no capital resource. They have no wisdom. They're just very good practitioners, and built businesses around them. And when we build these businesses, we have very specific parameters, like the highest paid employee cannot make more than 5 times the lowest paid employee. So if you're the CEO and you want to get a pay raise, great. Make sure that you give a pay raise to the lowest paid person first. When you start to run businesses in this fashion, what happens all of a sudden is employees love you. They don't want to go anywhere. And you have very equitable experiences. They show up in different ways. One of the questions that I get asked from the first group, where they're like, oh, that's amazing, you own businesses, is they go, how do you do this and not allow people to just take from you? And I always say, you have to remember your zip code. Like, you're here in this place in time. You're not somewhere in the future. You're not somewhere in the past. You're right here. So you have to play by the rules that are accustomed to this point in time. So, an example, I have worked with family and friends, and I give them the same talk every time. And I've started to do this with every new employee. At some point, you're either going to leave or I'm going to fire you. If you can come to Thanksgiving, if we can do Christmas, if we can still be friends, come work for me. If not, don't. Because to be conscious is to realize that they are a human and so am I. And we all have these collective experiences where being fired or quitting feels scary. I had this experience from an Indian saint. He famously said, do what you do with another person, but never put them out of your heart. Ramana Maharshi was an amazing teacher, and he still teaches me today. When I started to read some of his literature, I came across some other teachers, and one of them told a story that I'd love to share with you. There was once a man who was living in Japan. He was from the US. And he was there to study the ancient art of Aikido. Now, Aikido is a martial art that uses the body weight or the pressure or the power of another individual that's attacking them to defend themselves and to defend others. So this man is on a train coming out of Tokyo, going into the suburbs. And this man stumbles onto the train, clearly drunk. He's a very large man. And he starts swearing and cussing. And there's families with small children standing by. He takes a swing at a mom and her young child, and he barely misses. And this man who's been studying Aikido says, this is my chance. I've been training for a year, and I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. He stands up, and the drunk man turns to him, and he says, someone needs a lesson in manners. And as he goes to fight the drunk man, he hears this shrill voice. Hey! The drunk man and the American turn to find this small 80-year-old man who starts to speak with the drunk. Hey, what have you been drinking? The drunk says, sake. He goes, oh, I love sake. My wife and I, she's 81, we love to drink warm sake right by our persimmon tree. It's the one that my grandfather planted. It's absolutely incredible. And I love it when the persimmons are in blossom. And it's so beautiful. And the drunk man goes, oh, I like persimmons too. He says, oh, of course you do. And I'm sure you have a lovely wife and you can't wait to get home and see her. He goes, no, I don't have no wife. She died. And he sat down next to the old man. And the old man put his arm around him and he said, oh, I'm so sorry. And the drunk man said, I don't have no wife. I don't have no kids. I don't have no job. And he said, oh, the old man said, that is a sad story. Why don't you sit here and tell me all about it? The American got off the train and he remarked, what I intended to do with force, that man did with love. When you see something wrong in the world, and there's plenty, right? It should not be this way. If you have the drive, you have the talent, you have the ability to start a business, we need you to do it. Not so that you can get rich. You will. You will make plenty of money. But so that you can change the world. Because people spend more time at their job than they do with their families. You can transform our healthcare system by starting a business and doing it better. You can transform how we interact with our kids. Hey, here's a crazy idea. How about paid paternity leave? Mandatory for everyone. If you see a problem, you can change it if you launch ethical businesses. And if you already own a business, it's time. We need you to invest in the next generation. And the next generation isn't just young people, it's people that haven't launched a business yet. And when you do, we will all be better for it. Thank you.